everyone. Welcome back to Top Bins with Twins. We are here to discuss a little bit of a review of the ongoing Game Week 34, do a little bit of a preview for Game Week 35, and talk about some wildcard teams for those that have saved their wildcard and are going to wildcard in the 35. So without further ado, Paul, pass it over to you. How are you doing?
My FPL team's doing pretty good. This
Love
week
to hear that.
has been a little bit better than previous weeks. So currently sitting on 51 points with a -8, so technically 43. But still a lot of the doubles to go. So
still 15 above the average there, though. So that's a good start to the week.
Yeah. So and I also played my triple captain chip on Salah. So. Per typical,
we would
that's going to go to absolute shit.
Well, you never know. So we would expect him to start against Everton. So, especially with him getting that rest, I think that was kind of just a restorative rest, and hoping that he can. It seems. I feel like there's probably an underlying injury issue, right? Is really what's happening with him. But maybe that rest and getting ready for Everton, he'll be fully fit and ready to go for. The Merseyside derby. So
yeah, I'm not optimistic about it. He just hasn't been good, so I don't know why the fuck I used a triple captain chip on him, but
hey, it is what it is, right? So
yep. But tell us about your team, Luke. Your team has a lot more hope and optimism.
Well, I will say at the moment I'm absolutely buzzing with my FPL team. I am currently sitting on 94 points with an average of 28. So if you can, as you can imagine, my overall rank has skyrocketed from that. So at the beginning of the week, before any matches were played for 34, I was at 941,000 overall. Currently, I've halved my rank and even more than that, gone down to 412,000 overall.
That's pretty awesome.
And the best part about it is sitting on 94 points, I still have 11 players to play in the week. So the free hit move here, that to save it for 34 instead of using it for 29 when there was a blank game week, definitely the upside move there. And I think that's the biggest part of this discussion from 34 is choosing to pursue the upside has paid out for me in this scenario, with examples of Trent Alexander-Arnold being in my team. I tripled up on Crystal Palace attack.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about Crystal Palace.
So I tripled up on Elise, Eze, and Mateta. I was a little questionable about Elise. I wasn't sure if I was going to have him in my team or not, with the other alternative being bringing in Muniz, the defender from Crystal Palace. Also ended up being the right call there. Getting Elise in with his goal and assist was huge. Eze gets a goal and assist as well. Mateta gets his brace and an assist. All around, could not have ended up being any better for me. Like I said, it's an upside pick. I knew that there was a possibility this team would not play out, but in rolling the dice rolled in my favor this time.
Yeah.
And from an FPL perspective, that's really all we can try to do. Because at this point, trying to chase rank gain and also gain on people in our mini league. So this week has really worked out nicely for me, and I'm excited to see what the rest of the week has to hold. If my Crystal Palace assets can return really nicely,
especially Eze, because you captained him, correct?
Yes, yeah. If Eze can get another goal or two, I will be looking at maybe sub 100 for the overall weekly rank, which would be absolutely wild, because at the moment I'm around 1,100 or so for the weekly rank. And it couldn't have gone any better. The only other addition that I could have made to my team is, instead of going with Salah, going with Jota. It was an idea that Paul and I talked about off the podcast, but I just didn't feel like it was something that I could actually do. It seemed far too risky with all the risks I was already taking. And another risk I took was double Liverpool defense. Luckily, it paid out with Trent getting the goal from the free kick. I wish he would have been on more bonus, but if Castagna doesn't score that goal, that's, for me, ultimately that's about a 10-point difference in my weekly. If I'm at 104, I'm 12 off of the highest for the week. And I would bet that my overall rank would probably already be in the hundreds. So I'm absolutely excited, very, very happy with where my team's at, but also just excited to see how the rest of these matches play out.
Yeah, you got a lot of possibility there, Luke, so it's very exciting.
I do have a lot of players, though, who could potentially hurt my rank. So if Saka returns against Chelsea, that's going to hurt me a lot because I decided not to go with Saka. If Salah comes out and, gets a hat trick against Everton, that's going to really damage my rank as well. Because some people have triple captain, a lot of captain. And if my Palace assets don't return, then it could end up being, not as great of a green arrow as it is currently. So we'll see how it plays out, but I'm very happy with how this week has gone for my team.
Yeah, it was a big risk this week, and it's played out very well for you. So I'm happy to see it.
I might have ran around the house at one point. Cannot confirm or deny that.
I can confirm.
Paul can confirm. Okay, so it did happen. I might have blacked out for a little bit there, so that it might be a little fuzzy in my memory. But that did happen on Sunday. On Sunday, yeah. So, but that's kind of where we're at the moment. What we're going to do in this podcast is talk about Game Week 35, wildcard drafts for 35, and really just kind of the very end of the Premier League season here for the run-in. There's a lot of teams to target, especially with 37 being full of doubles. Paul, do you have the list of doublers pulled up by chance?
From this coming week?
For 37.
Okay, for 37, it's Chelsea and Tottenham, Man City, Brighton, Newcastle, and Manchester United.
Okay, so all of those teams. So we have 6 teams doubling. It's a very interesting list of teams, though. It's kind of hard when you're looking through at players to target to find the best ones to pick, because it does feel like 34 maybe a little bit more upside in some of the fixtures, because a lot of these are playing against top teams, and there's not a lot of relegation involved teams that we would want to target with those fixtures.
Yeah, I agree.
So with that being said, Paul, what would your wild card in 35 look like?
Let's see. I actually have it pulled up. I built a little wild card team earlier today. Okay, so this is a very early version of a wild card team that I would bring into 35. I would have Petrovic in goal. Petrovic or Vicario. Probably Vicario.
So for the sake of the pod, let's do your goalkeeper and defenders, and I'll do mine. And then we can kind of just talk about, progressively each tier.
Yeah, probably Vicario, just because I know he's going to get a lot of chances to stop shots, especially against Arsenal and Chelsea away. Which I think a big discussion in this podcast probably is going to sit around the health of Cole Palmer. Because if he's unhealthy, then that's going to change the landscape of FPL, honestly.
It will.
So I think that also really increases Vicario's chances of keeping a clean sheet against Chelsea away if Palmer's not involved.
Did we get any kind of clarity on what kind of illness he has? Was that released?
I thought it was an injury, right?
No, it's injury. It's illness related.
Oh, I don't know.
Apparently he's been sick, and he was not able to train today, which is Monday.
I saw Pochettino say that. I just thought it was injury, not illness. I don't know.
Monday the 22nd. So he was ill from what I saw. Reported from multiple journalists, and he was not able to train today. Well, he wasn't able to train on Sunday for certain. So Monday he was not supposed to train, and then they were going to evaluate to see if he could maybe play on Tuesday. We'll see what happens there, but you would have to imagine that he'd be back and hopefully ready to go for Game Week 35 is kind of what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, if he's healthy, it seems very negligent to not have him in a wild card. So, especially with him doubling twice, 35 and 37. Yeah. So
even if you have to bench him for 30 for maybe one of the fixtures in 35, well, if he misses one of the fixtures in 35, I still think it's worth having him for the back end with Tottenham at home. Right, yeah. That's a match that feels like he could return in.
Yeah, and then for my defenders, I have these are all kind of fluid, kind of depending on how the rest of this game week plays out too. But Gusto, Romero, Schär, Van Heck, and Guardiola.
Ooh, okay, very interesting. So there's a lot of similarity in our teams. So I'll go ahead and say mine because I think we can just kind of talk about those after I say these. So in goal, I have Petrovic and Vicario. I really like the pairing there, potentially just because I think that I don't want to play Vicario for 35 or 36 necessarily, but I'm fine with Petrovic at home against West Ham. It's possible he'll keep a clean sheet. I don't feel great about it. But then again, I don't want to be bringing in a goalkeeper that I know I have to get rid of for 37 if I want to maximize my bench boost in 37.
Yeah, exactly.
So bringing in Vicario and Petrovic, both doublers in 35 and 37. My defenders are Van de Ven, Schär, Dalot, Branthwaite, and then Gavardiol.
I thought about Dalot.
Yeah, so I think we're thinking in very similar veins here. The interesting exclusion that I see amongst both of our teams is we don't have any Arsenal defenders. What was your thought process behind that, Paul?
Just maximizing the doubles. And I mean, if you look at Arsenal's remaining run, it goes Tottenham, Bournemouth, United, Everton. I mean, those first three fixtures are going to be, I think Bournemouth is going to be sneaky for Arsenal, and then Tottenham, who knows what's going to happen in that North London derby. I think Son will really show up for that match. He loves playing Arsenal.
So here's the question I'll pose to you out of that. Out of the 4 remaining fixtures, Tottenham, Bournemouth, United, and Everton, how many clean sheets do you see for Arsenal?
I think the United one's there's a good chance in Everton too. Maybe I'd say 2 out of 4.
2 out of 4? Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. And Tottenham, I really think there will be multiple goals in that match. And, with it being the North London derby, you never know what's going to happen in there. So.
Yeah, exactly. That one, I would not count on a clean sheet for that one.
It is at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But
I would say that if you're going to go for an Arsenal defending asset, it's Ben White at this point. Because if you're counting on the clean sheets, who knows what's going to happen, especially with the run and everything going on, teams fighting for different positions and everything. Like that last match on the last day could be Everton. I mean, with the win against Forest, it's most likely not going to happen now. But if they're fighting for relegation, and if Arsenal's fighting for the title too on the very last day, who the hell knows what's going to happen in that match?
Yeah, agreed. It'll definitely be a toss-up. And something to keep in mind, though, with Tottenham away, Udogie just announced that he had season-ending surgery from an injury that he sustained during training this past week. So Udogie is out. That takes away Tottenham's starting left back. The question is then who's going to play left back for Tottenham? Do you push Van de Ven out left and bring in maybe Ben Davies? Do you bring in Dragonson? Do you play Emerson Royale as a left back? Do you play Ben Davies as a left back? So we don't know exactly what's going to happen out of that. I think the safest bet here, if you want to be using Tottenham assets, just either go with Van de Ven, who's really cheap, or comparatively, just go with Pedro Porro, who has good underlying numbers, and maybe he returns again. He recently got his first goal of the season, which should have been coming a long time ago, frankly.
Yeah.
But, it's just interesting that we're excluding Arsenal assets from the defensive perspective. And obviously, we know we can be bringing them at some point. But if you do want to maximize the doubles, it feels like excluding that Arsenal defense, it's a risky move, but it feels like it could pay out if you end up going with the right assets and do get those returns. So
yeah. I mean, they have been the best defense this year, so to leave them out on the run-in is always a risk, like you said.
Especially when you're playing people and you're going against everyone who has double Arsenal defense. As soon as they get that clean sheet, if they do, it's going to be really hard to make up that ground. So. Something to note there. Gvardiol is an interesting pick. I like that we both have him. I think it's a good shout there, and I really like City's run-in for the rest of the season. Especially, I mean, they have Forest away, Wolves at home, Fulham away, Spurs away, and West Ham at home.
Do you know have they announced when the FA Cup final will be? When is that going to fall? Or is that
no,
fall?
I'm not sure.
After the season.
Usually it's after the season.
Okay, yeah. So they'll just have the fixtures they have straight up right now. That's good.
Yes, it is. So something to keep an eye on there. Paul, do you want to go through the midfielders that you built for this wildcard draft?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if we have the same exact ones.
I was yawning right now. So I bet we do, honestly. So I have Son, Bruno Fernandes.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yep.
Foden. And Elise.
Ooh, Elise, no Palmer.
That was me playing with one where I thought Palmer would be
Palmer was going to be out. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if Palmer's healthy, then it'll for sure be him over Elise.
So why Elise over Eze? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
I just think Elise has higher upside. Honestly, I think after having a consistent run of games, I realize Eze had a great week for you, and he's also on my team this week too. But I don't know. Elise feels like more of a differential to me because I'm just trying to make up a hell of ground. And
yeah, that makes sense. I get that. I don't think you can go wrong with Elise or Eze, right? Because the same underlying risks exist for both of them, right? Where you feel like they are possibly close to an injury. Let's really hope not, because as we saw this weekend, if Crystal Palace are playing well and they're fit with the gifted and talented players they have, then they can be a really good side. I mean, the entire season they've just been struggling with injuries. And now that they're finally healthy, we can see a big difference in their performances. My midfield that I went with this wildcard draft was Gordon, Son, Palmer, Foden, and Bruno Fernandes. All of these picks I feel very good about, and the midfield pretty much picks itself at this point, in my opinion. Gordon doubles in 30. All of these midfielders double in 37, but then Son and Palmer also double in 35. So we're getting a ton of minutes out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, it feels like Son is due to have a great week sometime soon, right? Because it's been a while since he's returned. And we know with Son that he's one of those players that he can easily, he's just moments away from a brace and an assist, or 3 assists, or a hat trick. Yeah. It's just something that's in his bag constantly, and it feels like it's due in the near future. So even though they have a tough run of fixtures, Son can score against anyone.
Yeah, that's he seems to really like big fixtures, so I'm hoping he just disappears for the Arsenal one and goes crazy in all 3 of the other double matches, and also kills Liverpool too. So
yeah, as an Arsenal fan, that's one of those matches that Tottenham, I mean, they're currently in the table. Where are they sitting at? I know that they're fifth
behind Villa, right?
But I'm not exactly sure what the point totals are. So Tottenham currently sit 6 points behind Villa.
With 2 games in hand, though, right?
With 2 games in hand. Their goal differential is 5 behind Villa's, so they could technically make up that goal differential as well.
You'd have to think they're really looking at that Burnley match to consider that.
Yeah, agreed. And then they also have Sheffield on the final day, and they can make up a ton of ground on goal differential there if they just push everyone forward. Because ultimately, I mean, Newcastle might make a push to get to 5th. It's possible. They could do it with the way they've been playing. If they can put together some good away performances, maybe 5 is reachable, although they are 10 points behind Tottenham. So from an FPL perspective, it's important for us to see that Tottenham have something to play for and Newcastle do as well. And these are 2 teams that are doubling, 1 in 35 and then both in 37. So we know that they have something on the line in these matches, which really does matter, because near the end of the season like this, some teams, they're on the beach. They're not fully, there's just not much to play for, right? Maybe there's rotation, younger players start to play, and then it gets difficult to pick these teams for FPL. But if we know there's something on the line, it makes it a lot easier to pick the assets from these teams. So
yeah, I completely agree with you. As we always talk about with the questions around a player, and if United's one of those teams that because I mean, if we're going to talk about forwards, can we go on?
Yeah, let's pivot to forwards. There? That sounds good.
Okay, so my forwards that I would bring in are Isak, Watkins, and Højlund.
Okay, very interesting. I was right along that line as well. I'm still not entirely sure which direction I want to go, because currently I have Nicholas Jackson, Isak, and Haaland.
So there's a little caveat that I think I'll probably bring Haaland in for the at least for the Wolves match.
You'll bring Haaland in for
for the 36 matchup.
Gotcha. That makes sense to me. Holland, the only reason why in my wildcard 35 draft I have him is I think I'm going to bench him for 35. I don't quite think he's going to be fit for that. But from a budgetary perspective, it just makes more sense to already have him in the team and not be planning in or out transfers, right?
Yeah.
Because ideally, I'm going to wildcard in 35. I'm going to bench boost in 37. So I want to have a team full of doublers for 37. But I also want to go into 38 with 2 free transfers and just be able to really target that last day and know who's going to be playing, who's not going to be, who has something to play for, and use those 2 free transfers without taking a hit. I do not want to take a hit going into the last day, but I do want to really kind of target that final day. And with all the matches being played at 10 o'clock on decision day, we should get some team leaks.
Yeah, it's going to be pure chaos.
It will be. And
I'll probably be free hitting on that last day, so...
Yeah, which will be a lot of fun for you.
Leaks.
You just have to make sure you're picking those players that are in squads. But going back to Nicholas Jackson a little bit, I just want to finish out that thought. Jackson has really struggled this season. And, if you look at his point totals, he recently, so in game week 33, he had a 14-point haul against Everton. That is his biggest points result of the season.
Are you sure?
Nope.
No,
Against Tottenham.
He is the Tottenham match, right? The hat trick,
16
right?
points. Yeah, he had 16 points in that one. But across all these fixtures, I mean, he's sparsely returning, but it's a real upside pick. And in my head, I'm picking between Højlund or Jackson. Jackson does have the double in 35. And in my mind, I think Højlund is a better player. I have no doubt about that. I just think Jackson might be more likely to return because Højlund hasn't. I don't know the last time Højlund returned. I think it was.
If you look at at Jackson's games, though, especially against Villa away, that's a tough matchup. Tottenham at home is still a tough matchup, and I realized what he did in the first leg of against playing against Tottenham this year, but. That match was also pure carnage with 2 red cards to Tottenham. He wasn't running against they're basically playing like 2 center backs with no wing backs at all. So
they were, and that game should certainly be caveated. So the only real notable return he's had was 14 points against Everton.
Yeah.
But in looking at Højlund's stats, I know he's a great player. In the right system, he's really going to thrive and could be a great FPL asset. But over the past 4 fixtures, and since he's returned from injury, so game week 33 all the way to game week 30, his XG only accumulates to around 0.2.
Yeah, that's not good.
He's just not involved in what they're doing. He works so hard for the team, but he's not getting chances. So it feels like a lot of United's points and goals have come from penalties or just insane moments of brilliance. And who is that going to come from? Probably Bruno Fernandes, right? So that's what pushes me away from Højlund. Could he easily explode and have a great week? Yes.
I really do like the Burnley at home matchup.
Yeah, I
like that one a lot.
Too. We'll see how Sheffield goes in 34. I think that match is going to be on Wednesday. That could change a lot of wildcard drafts. If, say, he gets a goal or 2, I think he'll instantly be in a lot of wildcard 35 teams. And my team being no different. If he does get a goal or even has an assist, I would prefer to go with him for 37 over Nicholas Jackson. So
yeah, I get that.
And, let's caveat this and say if Cole Palmer's out, the likelihood of Nicholas Jackson returning is significantly decreased, in my opinion.
Yeah, no,
there's just not much creativity in that team after Cole Palmer's gone. So something to keep in mind as well. So that's pretty much our wildcard drafts right there. Paul, do you have any other thoughts on kind of that wildcard situation or?
I'm honestly not too much really, Luke. I think we covered a lot of good options for people, and
Yeah, it's that time of the year though. Four match weeks left.
I don't know. Manchester United just scare me with their double in 37. They have Arsenal at home, which Arsenal's still going to be playing to win the title at that point, I believe. If they are, that's going to be a really tough matchup for United. Although, did United beat Arsenal this season in the first leg?
I don't think so.
I'm not.
I think that was the match where Jesus erased somebody at the very end.
I can find it real fast.
Yeah, because Dallo went sliding by him. You remember that? He was on the break.
Yeah, and the memes were out there. Yeah, so Arsenal ended up winning that one 3-1. Something to keep in mind there, right? Because Old Trafford has this mysticism about it that opposing teams feared going there and really just, did not enjoy their time there. But that's kind of been shattered in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I don't think that's relevant anymore, really.
No, I don't.
I think people probably maybe circle that matchup now and are excited for it rather than scared.
I mean, look at Coventry. Poor Coventry, though. They put in a great performance, and once you go to penalties, it is kind of just a roll of the dice. But they played really well, and they should be proud of their performance. It would be wonderful to see them in the FA Cup final, but unfortunately not.
Yeah, unfortunately, but another Manchester derby in the FA Cup final. So,
yeah, 2 consecutive years. Look at Ten Hag making his way all the way to the FA Cup final and probably finding his way being kicked out of the job.
LOL.
Ooh, we haven't talked about this yet on the pod, but David Moyes has agreed to part ways with the club at the end of the season.
It's a big day for you, Luke.
I'm very excited to see who they bring in. Apparently, they're in talks with sporting coach to bring him in, who is one of the hot commodities in Europe at the moment, and one of the best young managers around. So if we could get to see a more, forward-thinking and advanced version of football with some of the talent that West Ham have, that could be a lot of fun and great potential for FPL assets as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody that listens to this podcast knows that I'm a huge Bowen fan. So to see him under a system that allows him to flourish more would be pretty cool to see.
The premium attached to player value at the start of the season next season will be very interesting to see how much of a bump, say he does end up going there, that gives the value of the players. Because if we know they're going to be attacking out, not sitting as deep, and really kind of playing more brandishing, advanced football, I'd love to see that for West Ham. They've got a lot of talent in their squad.
Yeah, they absolutely do. So hopefully they find somebody good.
Yeah, let's hope so. It would be nice to see. So just to kind of round out this episode for you all, we're currently sitting at Monday, April 22nd. We have Arsenal and Chelsea to come on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we have Wolves, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Newcastle, Everton, Liverpool, and Manchester United, Sheffield. So 4 matches to play on Wednesday, and then we have the week finished out with Brighton at home to Manchester City. We're yet to know if Erling Haaland's going to be playing in that match. At this point, it seems very likely he's not going to even make the squad. From what we've kind of heard from Pep, he didn't make the squad for the FA Cup semis. So we'll kind of see what goes on there. That will help inform a lot of wild cards for 35, though. The deadline for Game Week 35 is on Saturday, April 27th. That's going to be at 6 a.m. Eastern time. So if you're really getting up and after it, then 6 a.m. is going to be an early wake up. But for those on wildcard, it might be worth getting up a little bit early and seeing those team sheet leaks if anything comes out.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably going to do it for us today. Paul, do you have any final thoughts for the listeners out there?
Just play your own game, guys. Whatever makes you happy as an FPL manager, go for it,
Yep, I agree, Paul. It's been nice to have a really good FPL week and a little validation there from the perspective of playing my own game, as you said. And it's played out nicely so far. Excited to see where the rest of Game Week 34 goes and see if my wild card in 35 can kind of continue to bring the green arrow. So, let's just keep at it, guys. A little bit more to go, but we're almost near the end of the FPL season.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that we're.
Yeah, it is. It's a long season. Think back on where the season started and where our lives were at that point. very different now.
Yeah. Thanks, Change.
Well, thanks everyone. We hope to hope to have you join our next podcast. Not hear you. You'll be hearing us. So have a good rest of your day, everyone. And thanks for joining.
See you guys.